Alrighty, folks, we're very lucky today. We've got a senior product manager over at Baselane here today. She's going to help us understand what landlords need, what's the vision of the future, and what does it take to really design a product for landlords in the age of mobile phones. We've got Laura with us. How you doing, Laura?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me, Michael.
Absolutely. So back in my former career, I used to run go-to-market strategy, so I often worked with product management to really kind of paint the vision of the future, kind of tie that back to engineering, what can actually be done, and get timelines and all of that good stuff. So very familiar with product management. But why don't you kind of articulate what do you do over at Baselane and why is it so important?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the day-to-day, I work really closely with our design and engineering teams, where we kind of decide what we build and how to build it. And from the product side of things, that really means bringing in the voice of the user. So having a clear understanding of, pain points, opportunities, where we can increase the value of our platform. And as you can imagine, to kind of get all of those insights, it's a lot of time spent speaking with users and just understanding how they work.
Yeah, product management was always that interesting place because you really you're pulled in multiple directions. You not only got the customers and clients who you're obviously interacting with, getting feedback, wishes, desires, all of that. But in my world, you also had sales guys always saying that their customer or client is the most important and my priorities got to be this and got to be that. And then, of course, the other side's being pulled by engineering, basically saying, hey, can't do that, need to do this, yada, yada, yada. So product management is always about negotiations and timelines and priorities and not an easy job.
Yeah, definitely, has some struggles there, but I think by far the easiest aspect is kind of bringing that user voice into it, and that's where we're all kind of aligning. You hear sales team, you hear engineering team, we all have different things we're thinking of, but as soon as you bring that voice of the user and the pain point, it at least gives us that area to align on. How do we move forward with things?
Absolutely. Well, I am curious, what are landlords telling you today? Where are they struggling with? What's the team taking on as that next challenge?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I would say one of the biggest things that's popping up currently is as I'm speaking with a lot of scaling landlords, something I've just been hearing a lot is how inefficiencies are scaling with them. And that's something that's very top of mind right now. Because I mean, as you know, and as we hear from a lot of individuals, people get into real estate from, all sorts of different paths. Some are very deliberate, some kind of fall into it, but very few people buying their first property are kind of understanding how to set themselves up for success when after they buy their 10th. And so the really big problem here is the compounding things that weren't an issue at one property, and all of a sudden they've got a mix of STRs and LTRs, they've got 10 plus doors, and they're trying to figure out how to make it all work.
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting because you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people that get involved in real estate and they get their first and their second, and they don't even really understand that they're doing things manually, because in the beginning it's kind of onesie twosies, a month, a week, whatnot. It's not a problem, but when you compound that lack of or compound the manual tasks, and then you get to kind of 4 or 8 or whatever that number is, that's when stuff really starts to break. Stress level goes up, and I've actually seen lots of people simply stop growing because they never realized it was their systems and processes that were holding them back. Right? It became a headache and a nightmare, and they're like, "Dude, I'm done. This is crazy."
Yeah, 100%. It's quite amazing what some people kind of just get used to as well, right? Like, I actually just spoke with the user the other day, and she has, I think she has around 12 doors and all long-term rentals, and she still collects rent with Venmo. And so every month she has to sit down, and she said it's such a pain. She checks off everyone who's paid, has to cross-reference her ledger, and then she has to chase all these tenants down and remind them, get the late fees, be the bad guy. And when she had one property, that was zero concern, and all of a sudden it's just this massive time sink every month.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I think there's always 3 buckets of real estate investors, and I'm curious what you think of this, because again, I think we, at least I see it a lot in my community. There's kind of the 0 to 4, the traditional get to 4, I'm good, that's all I ever want, this is my retirement fund. Then there's kind of the 4 to 10, Now you're getting a little bit more scale. You're probably getting better deals. You're past the proof of concept, the idiot taxes paid. And then there's that next group that's like, hey, this, some is good, more is better. We're going way past 10. Do you kind of see it that way, or would you break down the community differently?
Yeah, I definitely see it that way. Hear a lot of stories around that. I think the only thing I'd add is, when people do start getting bigger, I think early in understanding the real estate space, I assumed that they would have already gotten everything sorted when you're really scaling. But I think what I've found and what's been really interesting is just how many people in that stage are still really kind of spending time on the little things. And that's something that I think is also quite interesting, because definitely it's amazing to see how people are growing and scaling. And I think, something that would just unlock so much more for them is if they got the foundational processes sorted, and how that could then translate into their already great scale to make it even better.
Well, let's talk about some of the patterns that you see, because again, you spend a lot of your time speaking with mom and pop landlords at all different sizes. What are some of the patterns? Because again, when we share these patterns, we might spark something in my audience going, hey, that's me. Why don't you tell me 2 or 3 kind of patterns that you see real estate investors going through?
Yeah, I mean, I think one interesting kind of pattern that's popped up a little bit recently as well is like connecting all the tooling and some difficulties around that, or just, lack of tooling as well. I spoke with somebody who has started their portfolio with their siblings, and I hear that often as well. You do it with a partner or a friend, a sibling, and they each were kind of half managing their own stuff, using different tools, and then trying to reconcile it in kind of a panic at the end of the year. And I think that's also been quite interesting to see, because that's kind of the source of the problem. And the end result is that people just don't really end up having a clear view of how everything is working together and what's actually going on. And, if you do work with a partner or have another person a part of the business, it becomes even harder. And even when there's trust there, your siblings, of course, they all had trust. It makes it very difficult to kind of get alignment on where to go next. So that's something that I think is quite interesting, in that like fragmentation is something that we love to try and solve for our users. I would say the second aspect is just kind of the interesting mix that we're starting to see, where I think when I first started doing a lot of research, it seemed like, a lot of people kind of had chosen short-term rentals, long-term rentals, but more so lately, there's a huge mix and there's a lot more flexibility, kind of a willingness to try different things and, see what works for you based on the property, or even, if you're not having luck with long-term rentals, kind of reusing that property and switching it up.
That's interesting, because for obviously one rental at a time guy here, very much long-term rental only. But you're absolutely right. I'm starting to see more and more people in my community kind of have a mix, right? Maybe some people went after STRs when they were hot. Maybe they're not as hot anymore, so they're backing it up with LTRs. And the problem is, right, you go short-term, mid-term, long-term, different systems, different processes, different really everything. And if you're trying to manage all of that manual, I can only imagine the gray hairs you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear people talk about being interested in kind of dabbling in a different area, but it's hard to even comprehend how different they can be when you're just kind of first thinking about it. To your point, STR, there is a whole lot more going on and a lot more active things you need to look at versus a reliable tenant with a long-term rental property.
Yeah. I think one of the things with Baselane we need to probably do a better job of talking about is really the power of automation. Again, I think a lot of mom and pop landlords just roll into doing everything manually because they don't know any better. What are some of the ideas or teases around automation that you think Baselane does particularly well that folks should look at?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when you look at the value of automation in general, I think there's kind of like 2 layers to it. It's A, the time back, and B, the accuracy. And I think we spend a lot of time kind of thinking about those aspects when trying to build products for people as well. Time back is a pretty obvious one. People often have 9-to-5 jobs, they have families they want to spend time with, and they don't realize that they're spending not only all this actual like active time focused on their portfolio, but also just passively like the lurking feeling in your mind, okay, I need to track this, this, and this. And that kind of goes into the accuracy as well, because if you're trying to track everything in your head and then once a month or even longer than that, you go sit down and actually do it, lots of room for error.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's, and that's a problem, right? Then you don't have an accurate view of how things are going, even ignoring the, you know, wanting to keep things reliable for the sake of taxes. And so, you know, at Baseline, we really try to make sure that these two aspects are covered and giving users time for all those other things in their lives. Like, for example, a very common setup in Baseline banking is like a checking account for each property. And that basically ensures anything coming in or going out of that checking account is auto-tagged. And that's, you know, there's very little room for error there. It's already assigned to that property. And that means you don't even have to think about it. You don't have that like lurking feeling of, oh, I need to remember this or track this sometime in the future.
Yeah, like that. When I think about automation, again, the tools that we have available today for when I started nearly 30 years ago, it's not only automation, but next is the audit trail, right? Mm-hmm. Not only understanding the number, but understanding where the number came from, where is it ticked and tied. The other thing that I think is really interesting now is you always have updated numbers, right? One of the things that I have to do for, I don't know, a dozen banks every year is do my personal financial statement, and being able to do that, you know, theoretically any month I wanted to is pretty powerful. And then to really understand how each unit is behaving, right? Because again, a lot of people feel like their units are making money, but they don't know, or worse yet, they maybe they think their units aren't making money. What they don't realize is, you know, 6 of them are, and it's only one that's not. I see that a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or, you know, the other side of that is a unit that had been doing really well, and then, you know, all of a sudden that changes and you don't even realize until it's, you know, you've lost a lot of money, you've lost opportunity because something has gone wrong and you just didn't have the data to even understand that until too much time has passed.
Yeah. You know, something I probably should have asked you at the beginning, because again, I'm going to geek out being a software guy. Does Baseline have a product philosophy?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's kind of what I talked about at the beginning. I think that like my personal philosophy, and I think the product team would share this, is, you know, everything starts with the user. And so the first really important thing is just every conversation we have, and anytime we're thinking about what to build or how to build it, it's, you know, how does it serve this specific, you know, real estate investors? And I think that's really powerful because it gives us such a great laser focus on who we want to serve and what we want to do. Like if you compare that to, from the bookkeeping perspective, let's say, to something like QuickBooks, you know, they have a very deep feature set. Not going to say they don't, but it is incredibly complex.
It is way too much for 99% of people.
Exactly. And it's, I mean, not even counting for cost, just like the functionality alone is just, it's impossible to understand for anyone who's not an expert. And so at Baseline, the fact that we can just say, here's who we serve, let's build for them, make it, you know, don't give them what they don't need, just give everyone the tools in order to get everything sorted. That just, I think, gives our product team such a great ability to build what matters.
So it sounds like, don't let me put words in your mouth, but you guys have a pretty clear avatar. And, you know, if that's true, that's a superpower, that's a strength, because where a lot of software companies break is they have 3 or 4 avatars, and there's always competing goals and agendas. And, you know, the tighter you can stay on a single avatar and have engineering, sales, marketing, everybody going one direction, that's where you can maximize. That's where 1 + 1 is 3, as opposed to 1 + 1 is, you know, a half if you have competing avatars. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there are, of course, segments within real estate. I mean, as we spoke about, somebody who has a short-term rental might have different needs than long-term rental. And so we, of course, have to consider all of that stuff as well when kind of building out features and building out the platform. But even amongst people, like the portfolios might vary, your strategy might vary, but there's a lot of common pain points that are still consistent. And so to your point, that really gives us the ability to turn that like 1 + 1 into 3 by really powering up on that side of things.
So I would be remiss if I didn't have a senior product manager on the phone or on the line with us here and not talk about the future. What excites you about what is coming? Obviously, you can't talk release dates. I get it, but you obviously have a vision for what's coming, whether it's the next or the one after that release. Obviously, you probably got AI doing this and that in the future. But what's got you excited about where the product's going?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much to be excited about. We've talked a lot about automation here, and another thing we really lean into is getting users organized and kind of getting that financial clarity. But organization and automation, I think, are two foundations to a bigger goal, which is helping real estate investors actually scale and be able to help with like bigger, more important decision making. And so I think that that's a really exciting area to get into. And I think that'll 10x all of our users when they're trying to scale, because now, once you've got the foundation sorted, now you start getting insights and you start understanding, to your point, what property is performing. Maybe I want something similar that's working really well for me. And so it's all about being proactive instead of reactive. And I think that's a really cool future and where we can build in and kind of going forward with things.
Very cool. Obviously, there's a link right there on the screen, baselane.com/ORAT, ORAAT, which is very cool. A page just for my community. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Give us your closing thoughts and anything you want to leave as parting words.
Yeah, I mean, I think closing thoughts is it's a really incredible market out there as long as you've kind of got the tools in order to help you take advantage. At Baselane, we really do try to build that simplicity and that functionality to empower people to scale further. And it's a really incredible space. So really excited to see what we're doing next for our users. We also are running a 10K giveaway right now. So if you deposit a qualifying rental income into Baselane, then you win a chance or get a chance to win 10K, which is pretty exciting as well. So really encourage people to check it out.
Yep. Baselane.com/ORAT. Go see what it's all about. Thank you so much. Have a good week.
Thank you. Bye.